Greetings and welcome again from another Flames War video tutorial. This time around we're doing the Auster AOP, unarmed aircraft that can really be a big help in games. Now what I'm doing here to start out with is we're painting the base. And kind of like I did if you watched my Huey Cobra video, you want to scuff the entire top surface of the flying stand base before you attempt to put any kind of glue or sand or anything like that on it, just like I've done here. Okay? So the next step, after I've scuffed up that base, is to take a mix of about 2 parts PVA glue to 1 part water or so, and thoroughly cover the entire top of the base. We're gonna make this base look like I don't know, the idea behind maybe rocky ground in Italy or something like that. So see how it turns out. You be the judge. First, I'm putting on a few pieces of Gale Force 9 Rocky Basic Grit to serve as like larger stones, and then the rest of the top surface of the base I'm just going to cover in fine sand. Just like that. And we'll set that aside to thoroughly dry. Then I painted a base coat of English uniform on here. If you prefer, you could spray this black first to make sure, you know, it wasn't transparent or anything, but I've never had a problem with this, so I just go straight into this, save myself a step. But like I said, English uniforms, the color we're painting the base coat here, thin it a little bit with water, so all the paint will be sure to penetrate between all the little cracks and crevices of the stones and the sand and all that, so you get a nice looking finish. Once that's done, go ahead and set that aside, let it completely dry, and then we're going ahead and give it a thorough dry brush of desert yellow. Okay. Now don't sweat too much if for whatever reason some of the sand comes off or one of the rocks pops off or something like that, because if you want, you could go back later and cover it with static grass or something else. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's important to get it a nice, even, no streaks dry brush. Okay, and then finally, your second and final dry brush. I'm going to dry brush this with dark sand, just for that lighter color, and just give the base just that little bit of extra, you know, pop or whatever you want to call it. Okay. After that, I'm going to grab my London Gray and I'm going to paint all my rocks. Now, if you wanted to, you could paint these like a lighter khaki color or something, probably be a bit more realistic. But I like the gray just because it adds some contrast to the base, a little bit of a different color, some interest. Especially since for this base I chose not to use any kind of static grass, which you could do, you know, absolutely, no question. Okay, and once that gray is completely dry, go again and give it a light dry brush of Sky Grey to highlight the raised areas and the ridges and everything, to make it more interesting. And that's it. Your base is done. Okay, now this is Silly Putty. And I'm going to show you how I use Silly Putty to do hard edge camouflage. It's great stuff. It sticks. It'll stick a little bit to the miniature, but not too much to pull paint off. And basically you just put it in strips and on there. So what I did is I primed this with the British late war Warpaint, the British Armour late war Warpaint. And then all I'm doing right here is just kind of rolling little sausages and different shapes out of the Silly Putty and putting it over the green. Okay. Now, if you wanted to, you could use, you know, masking tape. You could use masking film. Some people use blue tack. You could use the liquid film, the liquid mask in the utility paint set. But, you know, I kind of like the Silly Putty. So I took it, I airbrushed it with US Field Drab and let it dry. And now I'm just pulling the Silly Putty off, and it comes right off, no problem. It doesn't grab the paint or leave any, you know, residue or anything like that on there, and it protects all those places, and you get that wonderful hard edge camouflage with that. And you can apply the same thing to, like, you know, French tanks, for instance. And the great thing about the Silly Putty compared to tape is that it'll conform to all the different little, you know, bumps and ridges and things without any trouble. So try it sometime. It's kind of cool. All right. So after that, it's off. I paint a little bit of gloss varnish on the ends of the wings here to prep it for decals. This will help prevent silvering and make the surface nice and smooth, so it attaches really, really well. Now, I grabbed a couple of decals I had from a Typhoon decal sheet, but if you don't have one of these, you could always grab the British Desert Decals blister. I believe that's BR950 if I'm not mistaken. And that has some great allied symbols you can use there on your aircraft. Okay. Now, after those are on, I'm going to go ahead and paint gloss varnish to seal them in, and then afterwards I'm going to spray them with matte varnish, or you can paint it on to get rid of the glossy shine. Okay. Almost done here. It's actually a really simple thing to paint. The front end here, the front of the engine and where the propeller is, I'm going to paint this as all German gray. My favorite color. Can't paint a miniature without it, apparently. But I'm going to paint the German gray on here, and I'm also going to paint it on the tires there. But you can see the underside of the aircraft, how nice those hard edge camouflage came out, and it's easy. And I think the silly putty, particularly for tanks, if you try that out and try some hard edge camo on tanks, I think you'll find it really comes into its own. And the stuff's cheap. You can get it in any toy store or something like that. So, and many thanks to Alex in the UK for getting me my silly putty. I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. All right. Once we've got that done, we come to our very last step, and that's to paint the cockpit glass. And like I did in the Huey Cobra video, I really like Luftwaffe uniform for that color. I think it's a great neutral color that's suggestive of a windshield without being too overstated and not having to do any kind of complicated, highlighting to simulate a skyline or something like that. I mean, you're more than welcome to do it. Go for it. And as I always say, this is just one way of painting it, but to me, this is an easy and simple way to do it. And once you've done that, attach it to your base, and look at that. There you go. You've got your artillery. I was going to thank you for getting one of these and painting it up. Simple paint job. Looks nice. You'll love it. All right, pause the video here. If you need to write this down, here's the recipe of everything we used today. Thanks a lot for checking out this video. We really appreciate you dropping by Battlefront TV, and be sure to subscribe and tune in the future for more hobby tutorials, openings, and all kinds of other wacky stuff. Take care.